Hello Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Tagai. Well, we're going to spend the majority of this episode on this Carp get-together. They invited Poilievre to come and speak. There's some really good information in there, but more than anything, I want my viewers to be able to have the ability to take the link, like as always, and I know I say it lots, I post all my information down below in the description. So you can go and you can check all of my work. And if there's anything that you're really interested in and you want to watch the entire episodes, please click on that link. And in this case, make sure you share it to a lot of the boomers and elderly, especially if you know that they're brainwashed on propaganda media like CTV and CBC and the rest of them. And later on in this Carp clip, I'm actually going to show you a CBC voter and the naivety, literally how far out of touch they really are from what's going on in Canada. And we're going to dabble on some leaked audio on Carney. Nothing surprising to my viewers, but once again, hey, it's always something new. Got to share it. Got to make sure it's out there. Some good news in the States about Canada that Canada had nothing to do with, but it's good news in the States. And then just a couple funny clips here at the end. Let's get started with the good news for America about something to do with Canada, but actually Canada didn't have anything to do with it. So let's just dive right in.
That's Press Secretary Caroline Levitt. Let's listen in.
Border crossings in history in March, and we're seeing the same successes at our northern border. Here's how the New York Post put it. Northern border sector previously overrun by illegal migrants sees dramatic drop in crossings. We haven't seen anyone since November, end quote. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, just 54 illegal aliens were apprehended in the Swanton sector of our northern border, which stretches more than 300 miles in March. This is a drastic 95% drop from the more than 1,000 border crossings that were caught in March 2024. This is a main hotspot area that recorded more than 80% of all apprehensions along the northern border during the 2024 fiscal year. And new reporting from the Washington Times fully highlights the difference in Joe Biden's disgraceful approach to the border compared to President Trump's. Under Trump, border catch and release has dropped 99.99% from worst Biden month. You can't get much better than that.
No, you can't. Now, this has nothing to do with any of our border police, our border patrol. This is because the immigrants that are using Canada as a jumping point are now so scared that if they get caught in the States, they're going to get sent home. And no, not to Canada. Home. They are going to get a silver bracelet flight paid for with mild meals straight back to their place of origin, wherever they are from. This is great policy. I wish Canada would at least be half as strong as what Trump has done down in the States. So yeah, they're celebrating down there because Canada's borders now getting secure, and it has nothing to do with what Canada's done. Liberal Party, yeah, just never ends. It just never ends. Now, this leaked audio is quite interesting. I'm going to probably play it a couple times. In fact, I will, because I really want you to hear carefully what he's saying. It's kind of crucial. Listen very carefully.
Stood up and said, we're going to manage to net zero by 2050. Actually, we're going to have specific targets by 2025 and 2030, so you can measure the short term. They don't say this quite as loudly, but what they're also saying and thinking, and we're going to make a lot of money off of this because actually this is the way the world's headed. I mean, I'm not sure exactly when we get there, but to be carbon competitive is going to be value creating. Stood up and
now, auto industry. And if you're a new watcher and you know somebody in the auto industry, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And check out my previous episodes. I've been bang on the money. Not to scratch my back or pat myself on the back there, but it's really not hard to do the math, especially if you are like me and that's all I do is news and history. Your auto sector, you vote for these guys, you're voting yourself out of your job. Because they want to speed up the whole idea of removing combustion engines. And that means factories with robots. You are going to lose your job. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. Now listen carefully about how he slips the truth out.
Said, we're going to manage to net zero by 2050. Actually, we're going to have specific targets by 2025 and 2030, so you can measure the short term. They don't say this quite as loudly, but what they're also saying and thinking, and we're going to make a lot of money off. They don't say this quite as loudly, but what they're also saying and thinking, and we're going to make a lot of money off. They don't say this quite as loudly, but what they're also saying and thinking, and we're going to make a lot of money off of this because
yes, they are. You vote this guy in, he's gonna rob every single Canadian. If you ain't part of his club, you're screwed. You're screwed. And the government's broke. They've already been hinting that they're going to start trying to tax your private home. They're going to put a capital gains tax on that. That's going to be the final crush. You will own nothing and you will be happy. And if you're not happy, shut up, because mainstream ain't going to talk about it, because we own them too. That's how these fascists work. Now, moving on to the Carp. I want to play the entire introduction. I need you to hear this guy. He's got a superlative tongue. Very good speaker. But I love the way how he's really honest as well. He's honest, like from the last Conservative government to why they fell out of good grace. He's just, listen carefully, very enjoyable. I actually watched this 3 or 4 times, and this will be the probably 4th or 5th time now, and I'm going to enjoy watching it again, because he is not only bang on the money, but he's a great orator.
So thank you, Marissa. Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you, Mr. Poilievre. I mentioned this to you before we came out here. I haven't worn a suit in 10 years, but I've got my sincere gray flannel on to mark the gravity and importance of this occasion. So given all that you still have to do and all the many places you still have to go, we take it as a big deal that yesterday you were in BC, today you are here to introduce yourself, perhaps to reintroduce yourself, your party, your program to a packed room full of Zoomers, old and young, at a special meeting called here by the Canadian Association of Retired Persons in Zoomer Hall. What makes your appearance here appropriate even more so than usual is that 10 years ago at a similar meeting and in this very spot, just 3 weeks to go before the election that would unexpectedly catapult him into office, Justin Trudeau introduced himself to Canadian seniors and offered up his proposals for Canadians as we age. At that moment, as the leader of a discredited party that had spent many years in the doghouse, he was running third behind a Conservative government and an NDP official opposition. On top of that, generally speaking, and especially at that time, as people get older, they tend to develop more conservative attitudes. And maybe because of that, the Conservative Party of Canada began to take the senior vote somewhat for granted. Perhaps the most shocking example of that disregard was the surprise announcement by Prime Minister Harper and his Minister of Finance, Flaherty, at Davos that their government was going to push the age of OAS eligibility from 65 to 67. That bombshell did not go well. Not the idea, and especially not the way in which it was sprung, without warning or discussion, and in front of a foreign venue at a gathering of the so-called global elite. So the Liberals seized that opportunity, and they came here to Carp at the Zoomerplex and announced to our gang of engaged older voters what they intended to do if elected. They said they would roll the 67 back to 65, and for good measure, they threw in another $1,000 a month in support for low-income seniors, and that went over very well. Now, a facile reading of that 2015 election attributes the come-from-behind victory to the fact that Justin brought in younger voters, and there is some truth to that. But the deeper truth is that older demos vote in much larger numbers than younger ones, and that it was his newfound ability to move the much bigger older vote that moved Justin's needle towards victory. Well, here we are, 10 years later, and this time it's the tired and divided liberals who are in power. The conservatives are now the challengers, and it's time for the Canadian Conservative Coalition to come by here and seek the Zoomer vote by offering ideas, proposals, clarifications at a moment when the age of OAS eligibility still seems to be an open question, and people are asking why the 65 plus can't have the same vital supports that now exist for the 75 plus. If that talk and those commitments in 2015 started a shift of seniors away from the Conservatives and contributed to a groundswell that brought an upset victory, then is it not possible that the speech that you're about to give and the commitments that you're about to make might shift the attention of older demographics back to the Conservatives? Is it not possible that lightning might strike a second time and perhaps we could pull off another upset victory that starts right here and right now? We know, Mr. Poilievre, that you, should you win, would up the amount that seniors can earn or save without attracting taxes, because your party has already announced those platform points at the start of the campaign, but in the hurly-burly of the campaign, they went largely unnoticed. So we'd like to hear more about that from you, and perhaps any additional thoughts that you may have had in this vein. For example, might you commit not to roll back the rollback? And is it possible that you might even commit to leave OAS and GIS entitlements where they stand today? Now, Zoomers don't want you to think that we are only interested in our own bread and butter and what's just in it for ourselves. We're concerned about society at large. We're concerned about the cost of living, about housing, about home care, and particularly about the crime in the streets and the connection between that crime, the alarming growth in that crime, and the reckless, cynical immigration policy which has brought to our shores populations marinated in hatred of the West, hatred of Jewish people, and who brazenly, repeatedly display their bile in a fashion that is a stain on Canadian democracy. We'd like to hear you address that. And finally, Mr. Poilievre, if you would permit me one personal comment. It's widely known that your handlers have been holding back your natural exuberance in order to project an image of gravitas and restraint, but I think they may have gone too far. I mean, really, is it necessary to be as boring as Mr. Carney in order to prove that you can be a leader? I believe that Canada is ready for a passionate statement from a passionate leader who can evoke the country we all love and answer the simple question that is on everyone's lips. What happened to Canada? Where did it go? What happened to the decent, democratic country we had and could still recognize as recently as 10 years ago? What and who is responsible for those 10 lost years, and how should they be held accountable? To answer these questions, I am honored, I am pleased, I am chuffed to now welcome the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, the applicant for the role of Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre. And like I said, Pierre, let her rip.
Thank you very much. Wow, what an introduction. Moses, that wasn't the introduction I wrote for you. What a show. How do you follow that act? Isn't that incredible? Well, the legendary Moses Neimer has not had the success that he's enjoyed for no reason. The creativity, the audacity, the pluck, and the wordsmith are all still well intact. And it's a privilege to be here with your incredible group of Zoomers and Boomers and Carp members. I know we're supposed to be addressing the Canadian Association of Retired Persons, which brings back memories for me, Moses, from my very first campaign event. I was out, what do you do when you want to run for office? The first place you go to is a senior's home. Because of course, as Moses said, seniors have a habit of voting. And so I remember I arrived and we'd been making a little bit of noise around the community, so I thought maybe I was getting well known and maybe they'd already recognized me. So I walked in the door, very proud, chest puffed out. I walked up to a resident in the senior's home and I said, "Do you know who I am?" She said, "No, but if you ask the nurse, she'll tell you who you are." So, anyway, that was a great start to my career. We also have here some incredible...
So we're going to kind of just skip forward here. At the beginning, you can barely hear this lady's question. I tried to crank it up the best I can. I apologize. Sometimes the audio, there's just nothing I can do in order to really bring it up. She didn't have a microphone at the time. He was kind of in the middle of his speech when she had thrown something out, and Poilievre right away had pivoted and went to answer her question. Listen to this back and forth. It's priceless. It's really good. And plus you get to hear a lot of what Poilievre's platform is all about.
And that strength will require that we are safe here at home. And increasingly, our population feels endangered of crime. Do you hear about it in your community?
All the time.
Seniors afraid to go outside?
All the time.
Yeah. What are they afraid of?
They're afraid that we're allowing, when I toured with the police officers in York Region, that the police are getting laughed at because the criminals are being let out of jail.
I met a police officer with Anna. His name is Mario.
Right.
He told me he has some very clever criminals that he's been arresting for years. And he said they're very cunning and Machiavellian. But they've increasingly gotten stupid and easy to catch. And so he had one of them in the back of his car. And he said, you know, you used to go to lengths to hide the drugs and the guns. You used to go to parks and bury your contraband. And we used to have to chase you around. Why is it so easy now? He said, because we don't care if we get caught anymore. There is no penalty. It's more hassle to try and avoid capture than it is simply to get caught and to re-offend again and again and again. The source of this problem is C-75.
Exactly right.
The law, it's called catch and release. Here's what the law says. It requires judges to release offenders at the, quote, earliest opportunity and under the least onerous conditions. That is right in the law. You can have 100 prior convictions and the judge has to release you at the earliest opportunity upon your latest arrest. In Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. That's 150 arrests per offender per year. I mean, you basically have to be doing crime all day, every day to get caught every second day. I mean, these guys, they're hardworking. They're not unionized. They have no benefits. They do get accommodation. They go to the Hotel California, which means they check out, but they never really leave. And so they're back out on the street reoffending. So my plan will repeal C-75 and bring in mandatory jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. We will also repeal C-5, the house arrest law. Any car theft, Anna, where you come from?
The car theft in my riding alone has gone through the roof. It's up 40%.
40%?
Yes.
Yeah, I was out in your area. I met a waitress, and she told me that she was able to cut one of her jobs. She was working one full-time job, 2 part-time jobs, exhausted all the time.
That's correct.
So she was able to scrimp and save, and then she woke up one morning, walked out her front door, and her car was gone,
Yeah.
which the insurance wouldn't cover.
That's right.
So she had to go back to taking another job so that she could buy herself a car that she needs to get to work. This insanity has to stop. You know, house arrest for car theft, so you can sit around watching Netflix in your living room or playing Grand Theft Auto. This is the insanity that has led to, you wonder, Moses, why we have so much craziness in our streets. This is the reason, because there are no consequences. I will repeal C-5. There will be no more house arrest for repeat offenders. We will repeal C-83, the law that allows Paul Bernardo out of a maximum security penitentiary into a medium security penitentiary. In fact, then we will also take action against multiple murderers. Right now, because of a terrible ruling by the Supreme Court, multiple murderers are able to serve only one 25-year life sentence, even if they've murdered 5 or 6 people.
This is a big thing, and of course, if you're a fan and you watch, and if you just started watching, I urge you to go and check out my previous episodes. The Supreme Court is a joke. They're all appointed with zero scrutiny. They're literally given the position not because of the qualification of who they are, but the quality of who they know. And this has been taking its toll on our society decade over decade. And wouldn't you know it, that the majority of these appointees are liberals. This has to change. If not elected, then there has to be a system, which is really easy to do, especially nowadays in this computer age, where you can literally see the balance of their decisions over their entire career. If they make a pile of bad decisions and lots of reoffenders, guess what? You will never work your way up the ladder. If you have a very good balance, very low reoffenders, and you have but a low threshold of extreme judgments, then you are a good judge. And if you're the exact opposite and you have like 0 repeat offenders, but everybody you throw the key away, then obviously you're not a good judge either, because there has to be a middle ground in order for justice to prevail. This is causing our system to slowly collapse. This one judgment in itself, when it happened, crime started going up. Mass murders started becoming more common, because it literally puts the word out that it doesn't matter how many people you decide to off. In fact, if you know you're going to do it, you might as well take as many as you can, because guess what? You're only going to do 25. This is the exact opposite of how law needs to be perceived and taken on in order for a democracy to prevail. These decisions affect the entirety of our nation, the whole of our society. This law should have been repealed. The judges who made this decision should have been forced to step down. There is absolutely no backing and no true justification for this decision. Every life is worth more than the man's life or woman's life that took it. Period. Take it to the presses. Let me know how you feel in the description or in the comments. Now we're going to move ahead here. This is a really good question. The Liberal government is so broke. I shouldn't say that. They're not broke. They got lots of money. They're just finding more ways to tax you out of it. Listen carefully to his answer, because Poilievre actually tells you the little things that they've been doing to prove that they're lying again about coming after your main home, which for a large population is our retirement. Our homes are our retirement. We don't have no retirement pension plan. The CPP ain't gonna pay us crap, because it's kind of a farce in itself. If we're not lucky enough to be part of the union or have some big corporation that's putting in X amount for our pensions, our entire life savings is our houses. The government's coming after that. They tried already with the capital gains, which guaranteed, Carney gets elected, that capital gains hike is going to come in, and it's going to be higher than what it was before on secondary. But they're also coming for your main place of residence. Listen carefully.
Next is from Tracy.
Oh, and pay attention to one character who's the aggregator. He's the plant. He is a perfect, we'll call it poster boy of propaganda CBC controlled people. This is why I need you to like, share, and subscribe. And definitely use the link for this carp that I put down below and share it with a senior that you know, especially if you know that all they do is watch CBC. And if they're not part of Carp, definitely share it with them, because they should be part of this organization. This is a great organization for the seniors. Let's go on.
Hi, my name's Tracy Pepe. I'm the ex-chair of Carp Brampton. And I wanted to ask, because the Liberal think tank has been using Generation Squeeze for some information. And they have been suggesting, obviously, to old age security to roll it back, but also to use the taxes on our home equity. So my question to you is, I think you said you are not rolling back old age security, but will you not put taxes on the equity that we have saved in our homes?
Two questions. One, we will protect old age security, GIS, and CPP. You will continue to get your inflation indexed benefits starting at age 65. Second, we will never allow a tax on home equity, period, full stop. Not going to happen. But you're right to raise the question, because weirdly, the Liberals put a question on your tax form to find out what primary residence you have. I don't know why they need that information. If it's not a taxable asset, then why does the tax department need to know about it? The Liberals have also been using your tax dollars to fund studies advocating a tax on home equity, so that if you sell your home to downsize or move into a senior's home, then you would have to pay full capital gains tax on that amount. That would be a crippling policy decision for our seniors. And just Saturday, Mr. Carney came out with a platform that requires $130 billion of brand new spending above and beyond what Justin Trudeau had already projected. They're pledging to, if you add up Trudeau's planned spending and Carney's new promises, it's $250 billion of new debt that they would add if they're elected to a fourth term. Now, I ask you a question. What happens when the finance officials tap them on the shoulder and says, you're out of money, you need to go find more? Well, they're going to go out and they're going to tax your home equity. They're going to go after your house. And they'll lie and deny, and they'll never admit it before an election. Of course not. But when have they ever, the tax increases Liberals have brought in, when have they ever admitted it before the election happens? They do it after they no longer need your vote, but still need your money. Bottom line is, Liberals will tax your home equity if you give them the chance in this election. We will never let that happen. Your home belongs to you, and when you sell it, you should keep every single penny for yourself and your kids.
And here's the aggravator.
Sorry, we have a list of people who are asking questions here.
Well, I have a very quick question. Can I ask my question, Mr. Poilievre?
I'm not.
You don't control that.
No, I'm sorry, sir. Sir.
Oh, I see. So when would I be able to ask the question? 3 more?
Let's hear from some different voices.
He's been doing this throughout the whole thing. If you watch the whole thing, you'll actually see a lot of times there people's eyes kind of focus on him and try to get off. He's a disruptor. He's an aggravator. I'm going to skip this question here. I just wanted you to kind of see that, and her question was really good because this is serious. They are going to put this law through. The Liberals are going to do this. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. And if you say you're unhappy, guess what? Guess what? You're now the enemy of the state. And the propaganda media isn't going to show that you're not happy. Look at where our country is today. And they are actually allowing this Liberal Party to have a platform. Unbelievable. Now I'm going to scroll ahead to this guy and listen to the question, listen to the ignorance. Listen to how blind he is on what is happening in Canada. This is a liberal, hardcore, CBC brainwashed individual. This is why I need you to like, share, and subscribe. And if you know somebody like this, you don't have to show them my video because I come off as being heavily conservative, although I'm actually not a conservative per se. I'm a centrist. But you can take the Carp, which I attach, all my stuff's attached in the description, and play the entirety of this for them, because this would be a huge eye-opener. Listen carefully.
Okay, you can ask your question.
No. After all of our questions are done.
No, John said no.
Okay.
You have no control over who asks questions, right? No ability.
Anybody can ask questions.
Okay, can I ask my question? Then we'll get done.
Marissa, whoever you want to answer the question, I'm happy to take questions from anyone.
Disruptive. We're giving you an opportunity to ask a question now. Go ahead.
Okay, well, let's. All right. Yes, sir.
Sir, can you speak here? I'm going to just.
Here, take the microphone so I can hear the gentleman.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Poilievre, you said something very interesting and to me.
Yes.
You twice mentioned anti-Semitic riots. Now, I do remember that in the 30s there was a very large anti-Semitic riot led by Nazis during the growth of the Nazis, and it was in downtown Toronto. I don't see, or I haven't seen, maybe I missed it, where and when the anti-Semitic riots of recent time have happened. Do you remember the places or the dates or times when these anti-Semitic riots that you mentioned took place?
Yes, happy to. Downtown Vancouver, they had a miniature riot right outside a coffee shop where I was speaking, targeting me because I've been a defender of the Jewish people. They've happened in downtown Toronto. In Montreal, in the late fall, there was an absolute monstrous mob going around smashing windows, lighting fires, and doing Hail Hitler symbols. We've had Jewish daycares attacked. We've had Jewish schools that have bullets fly through their windows in the middle of the night. We've had synagogues firebombed. Well, I just gave you a bunch of examples there. And
Why are none of those covered in the newspaper?
no, I don't.
Why isn't it in the news or the media, he says? Because he watches what? The propaganda arm of the government. These are all across Canada. They've been getting worse and worse. They're out of control. The one in Montreal, the media, the little wee bit they talked about it, they said that it was was it anti-NATO? It was everything or anything but Hamas, pro-Palestine, literally hateful, genocidal speaking group of people. And even the little bit they talked about, they tried not to show the fires, the glass breaking, the salutes. And the other people, like the lady that owned the business, well, she ran a business, I think it was a Starbucks, who was out there literally saying nasty things, Nazi things, who she ended up losing her job, which again, that should have been on national news. It should have been the front page of the papers, but it wasn't. And this guy is absolutely upset. Everybody around him, everybody, including the speaker, is a liar. You're all liars as far as he's concerned. This is why it's so crucial that you like, share, and subscribe. And like I said, use the links. Use the links. Get them out there. Show these people, because they don't know it even happens. Personally, I think this guy knows it's happening. I think he's just being an asshole. I think he's a disruptor, an aggregator, especially the way he said the question. He was trying to be particular to try and catch him on something, like, give me a date. I want a date. And guess what? Pierre had all the receipts.
I don't control the newspapers. I don't control the newspapers, sir, and I don't intend to. I don't want to live in a country where politicians control the newspapers. I believe in freedom of speech. But my mission is to, when I become Prime Minister, to ensure that there are no anti-Semitic riots for the newspapers to write about. Let's make this a safe country again.
Yeah, it was really good. Like I said, I urge you to share this with any of the seniors you know, especially those that that's all they do is they watch CBC and CTV and all the rest of the propaganda. You got to get this out there. This is their age group. This is a group that they should be part of. They should be part of. Now, moving on. Annie Lee dropped this one down. I actually saw a little bit of a clip of this, but Annie Lee's awesome. She does great write-ups on it. She actually goes through and she'll decipher a lot of it. She's got piles and piles of information. The stuff that she's uncovered, she's incredible. So, hey, Annie Lee, right on. Overseas Chinese News runs a hit piece on Zhou Tai, accusing him of being an extremist for fighting the Chinese Communist Party and betraying the motherland. Pierre Poilievre, it warns, having chosen an anti-Chinese activist as a candidate, will face consequences. That is an open threat. The police are doing nothing. Why? You know why. And now she attached it to a previous discovery of hers because they're all part of the same site. From the mysterious overseas Chinese newsletter WeChat account. And guess what? It's run from Canada that features Justin Trudeau and Stephen Guilbeault. And I love her little quote at the end. Who could possibly be running this? And then it's a funny thing that literally hours afterwards, Conservative candidate Zhou Tai has paused his public campaign after Chinese threat warning on advice from the RCMP. This is getting way out of control, people. The only way we can fix this is by decimating the Liberal Party. If you're a Liberal, you'd be much better off voting for an NDP than you would for this party. Anyways, we're going to move on to a couple little clips. Now, this isn't Canada. I believe this is somewhere down in New Orleans. But I wanted to post it because it's getting to the point where Canada is already moving towards this type of security measures. There were stores that were being built or modified where they actually removed or didn't bother putting in the checkouts because food crime is on the rise. Well, it just kind of lines up with the fact that 25% of Canadians are living in poverty. It's pretty bad when Canadians are starving and have to steal food. This is coming.
Baby, this one you know is bad. When they put miniature gates so you don't steal, baby, they meats. Oh, girl, this got to be bad, Lord Jesus. Help our people, Lord. Baby, this one you know is bad.
Coming to a store near you. It's going to happen. And the last part for the episode, this is a parody. It was done so well. Enjoy.
Before we begin this evening's performance, we would like to acknowledge that this theater stands on territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, and the Petun First Nations. We are also mindful of broken covenants and the need to make right with all our relations. And now, please enjoy the show.
Sorry, hello? Sorry, excuse me, should we go?
Excuse me?
Oh, no, I just mean if we're on someone else's land, shouldn't we leave?
Oh, no. The theater is here now. We'd just like to acknowledge whose land it is.
I'm sorry, I'm so confused. So if we're on someone else's land, shouldn't we do something about that, or?
Hopefully we'll enjoy the performance.
Oh, okay, so some of the money from the ticket sales of the show are going to the indigenous communities?
Well, no.
Oh, a portion of them?
No, the ticket sales go to the theater.
So is the money from the bottled water sold here going to the First Nations for clean drinking water, or?
Oh, no, that money goes to Nestle.
Nestle.
They're a sponsor.
I'm so sorry, I'm so confused. So whose land are we on? What are we doing?
It's a dialogue.
How are we making right?
Well, there's a plaque you can read in the lobby.
I don't understand.
I'm getting a message from the stage manager that we need to begin the show, so please take your seats. Have a good time.
But,
good night.
So sit down. Enjoy the show. Just enjoy the show.
Before we begin
the show. Enjoy the show. Canada, liberal enabling. Absolutely ridiculous. Since the first time they started doing it, not only was I insulted, I was absolutely insulted. It really brought out the stupidity of the enabler individual. What a load of crap. So for all you out there, don't feel bad if when you're at a place, especially when a politician gets up and starts talking and they start saying this, please laugh, because it's hilarious. It's not only stupid, it's so dumb. I mean, why cry? Because of how sad and stupid it is. Just laugh because they're actually doing this. Unbelievable. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And if you are, punch that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Until the next time, you've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, Alias Guy. Stay informed.